I ended things with her the day after my last post. After knowing the entire story, what she did was terrible, disgusting, and ugly. I could never forget or forgive her for that. My mind was too fucked up this past week, overwhelmed with thoughts and emotions. This was never me. I was emotionally very strong, but now I can't control it. 1. How do I move on? Personally, I know I can only move on if I hate her, but I can't fully. I loved her way too much. 2. Any questions I should ask her before no contact. I just want clarity, transparency, closure, and peace of mind before I cut her off completely. If not, my mind is bound to spiral and overthink again. I can't control it. This is because throughout the confession, she was never transparent. The only reason I want to retrieve her deleted Insta chats to see if she was planning this even when we met, 13th 16, though she swore nothing was going on then, as she started cheating on the 18th night. If so, it proves she used me as an escape to have fun with me and my friends and never valued our relationship. Knowing this would fuel my hatred, making it easier to move on understanding it was all a facade. 3. Should I tell our close mutual friends, not referring to best friends, circle about the cheating or give another excuse? How much detail should I share, everything I mentioned below or just a brief explanation and ask them not to press further? Cause even after breaking up with her, I was considerate and suggested not revealing her cheating, as we've always kept our lives private, and I didn't want to paint her as a bad person. But when I learned she sexted even after confessing, showing no remorse, I hated her and felt she deserved the consequences. Now that the anger is fading, I know I'll tell my best friends, but I'm not sure about the rest of our close mutual friends. She's going to lose all of them except one, and I think she must have been aware of the consequences when she decided to cheat. Unless she never planned on telling me, which she admitted she had considered during that cheating period. Even so, I can't help but worry about her emotional state and whether she might do something impulsive or reckless, so I am contemplating. Even before my Reddit post, I knew she was trickle-truthing. I already called her out on it. She told me to ask her questions and she'll answer. She wasn't coming clean on her own, it was always me digging. I now realized yesterday that the only reason she confessed on deck 25th wasn't guilt about me. It was because she confessed to the neighbor guy first about our relationship. When he said he was disappointed she didn't tell him sooner, he decided to distance himself. I think it hit her he left and I was all she had left. That day she seemed genuinely guilty and remorseful, ready to cut ties with him, share account access, and rebuild trust. It made me think about whether I should give her another chance. At that point, she'd only admitted to the first meetup, the kiss. Number panic attack on the third call that day, 25th deck, I pointed out the holes in her story. That's when it came out. There was way more to it, including sexting and prioritizing him over me. Up until it was only a time thing, makeout due to the heat of the moment, I am not an emotional person. I've always been mentally strong. And that's why as a couple we never had any fights, only disagreements cause I had an insane amount of patience. But hearing that broke me. I had my first ever panic attack lasting 10-20 minutes. She's a very emotional person, always filled with stress and anxiety, and yet she never had a panic attack. So you need to understand how serious and broken I was to get a panic attack. Important info for the next part. I spent the next 2 days overthinking everything. NGL, even though ending things was the logical choice, I kept second-guessing myself till the very end. Number testing her for context, it's the night of 27th deck. In order to test how remorseful and transparent she was, I told her I'd consider staying if she was 100% honest. She swore on our 7-year relationship that she was. To test her, I made her ask the other guy to download their Instagram chats since she deleted hers, immediately told her it was a red flag. She was very reluctant to ask for the chats. She said was embarrassed to ask him, but I forced her. While sharing her screen, I saw they were still texting. She told that guy texted her back on 26th deck, claimed it was casual talk, but I didn't care anymore. I was already mentally preparing to leave. The guy initially agreed to share the chats but later refused. I'm sure she warned him probably on WhatsApp, even though she swore she didn't. Number ending things, I'm guessing she was worried that the other guy would send chats and wanted me to hate her, so she said might have him twice more, which I'd suspected and confronted earlier. Those were the only times both were free despite her busy schedule, but she had denied it then. But I was adamant I'll only believe when I see the chats, cause she was reluctant to send chats. The third time they met, they did everything except intercourse and oral sex. I verified it with downloaded chats later on, but I know she would have gone further if they had a condom. The other guy is the one who set boundaries and expectations before they met up. It disgusts me that she even considered having sex with someone she recently met. From the beginning, all I asked was transparency since I know my mind needs clarity. Otherwise, I am just overwhelmed with thoughts and emotions. But she just kept lying. That night, I ended things with her, but I knew it would be hard for me to move on. That's why I kept asking for the chats, cause I knew I'd start hating her when I see she was never transparent. Even when I ended things, I was still considerate of her and told let's not tell our friends that she cheated. We'll come up with another reason, cause I genuinely didn't want to paint her as a bad person. We've always kept our lives private, so this made sense back then. At this moment, I was helping her text the other guy to convince to send chats, so I asked her to give access to her Insta accounts so I can keep track of her chats with him. She was reluctant, still trusted her, but she finally gave in. Number hatred towards her 28th deck. The next day, I noticed the other guy hadn't replied to her texts after he said no, which was very fishy. Curious, I checked her chats to see how long he usually took to reply. That's when I saw it. She'd already told him we ended things. She said she was single and they went on to sext on deck 26th and 27th. This was literally the day after my panic attack and after she told me she wanted to work things out. She was never truly guilty or remorseful. It was all lies. As soon as he texted her back on deck 26th, she literally lost all remorse and went on to do this. I was heartbroken, but it was replaced with hatred towards her. I genuinely can't believe how she kept outdoing her mistakes. It just kept getting worse. I downloaded their personal chats from deck 26th and 27th before she had the time to change her password. I know it was toxic, but I don't care. Reading them made me feel hatred, which gave me some peace. I genuinely felt free that way, knowing I made the right decision. My mind wasn't overwhelmed anymore. I thought I moved on. But the very next day, the hatred started fading, and I was back to spiraling thoughts. Now I realize why she was reluctant to show the chats, cause I'd also see the sexting from deck 26th too. I also realized she was more composed on the 26th and 27th, whereas she was completely broken down on 25th during our calls. It's cause the other guy came back to her. So was she never truly remorseful or guilty? Was it all a facade, only lies? Number reason, she told me even she doesn't know why she cheated, but the reason was not unmet needs, both physical and emotional. She said everything was fine between us. She says she realizes what she did was terrible and disgusting, and that she's considering therapy to help figure herself out. She doesn't know why she's acting like this, and that there must be some deep-rooted issue. I said the only reason I could think of was the highs, spontaneity, thrill, and dopamine rush that made her entertain the affair for 6 days, to which she agreed. TBH, this is exactly how we started 7 years ago too, to clarify. I'm not referring to an affair. I meant it was all of a sudden spontaneous and intense. But sustaining this spark/thrill in a long-term relationship is hard, especially when I start working and she knows that too. Another reason could be the thrill of doing something frisky that is illegal/shouldn't be done, having sex in public space/car. doing it at home as teens when your parents are in the next room. So for her, it could probably doing it behind my back and then hiding it and lying to my face, which is disgusting. But like I said, I am just overthinking since I don't have any clarity. So I just can't comprehend how she could throw away our relationship 8 years in April for cheap thrills. She also said he played hard to get, which made her want him more, and realized she was weak to fall into such temptations. Number my thoughts right now. I'm telling her everything because I need her to hear it. I need some clarity from her, and she needs to understand where she went wrong. I know I wouldn't feel this way if I talked to any of my other friends. They're not the ones who owe me answers. She is. After this week, we'll stop talking forever. I realize she might already have lost feelings for me and is obsessed with the other guy. It hurts to see how quickly she moved on. I feel like she moved on during the cheating itself. She's obsessed with the other guy. I'm starting to realize she probably never truly valued our relationship. If her love and commitment were strong, she wouldn't have done this. It really hurts. Next time, I'll avoid dating someone who initiates sex talks early. She was always the frisky one, and maybe I need someone who values emotional comfort over physical, as they might be less likely to cheat. Reddit was right, I was obsessed with the old her. I can't believe how quickly she changed. She's not wife material, and I know I'll find someone better. At this point, my bar is so low, it's just someone who wouldn't cheat on me. From the downloaded chats, it's clear she was obsessed with him even when she knew I was having a tough time finalizing a decision on 26th and 27th. She even said things like, "I can't stop thinking about you, and I miss you" to the other guy, which was what hurt me more, and never the sexting. She threw away everything we built for this. Maybe it was just a sandcastle we built all this while. I'm just wondering, did she ever actually love me and value our relationship? Did she fall out of love before and was just using me as an escapade from her monotonous life in the Middle East? Cause I was the only one earning, so I paid for majority of our expenses when she came here recently back in Sept and then Dec. Was this her true character all along and that she was just finally tested? Cause this was the first time she was close with a male guy friend that wasn't one of my friends. I just wish none of this ever happened and that we were still together. But I know I made the right decision. And now I regret wasting 7.5 years on this relationship. Story 2, I'm here to story my wife's excuses when she was caught. I was afraid that sharing her excuses, and she had so many I have forgotten some, would paint her in a much worse light than she already was in. It's bad enough she had an affair. It's even worse, it lasted 13 months. I gets worse that her AP worked in my building, so I had to keep seeing him after. I felt those facts painted enough. But as I commented back to people showing their support, several of these cropped up. Before I go farther, I also want to share for those that did not listen my previous story, that story D-Day I chose to stay. It's been 8 years, and I have zero regrets over staying. However, my previous story was about how I'm feeling hurt and confused all over again despite no signs that we are having any trouble again. I am in no way thinking of leaving. In fact, I plan to have a sit-down talk over my emotions when I get home from work this AM. This is all coming out as I reprocess things in my head and my feelings. Her first excuse was that she thought I had been cheating too. She admitted she saw no signs of it. However, I was working a lot of overtime, so she felt that gave me opportunity. She also admitted that if she found her proof, she was going to leave. She was surprised I stayed. Secondly, related to thinking I was cheating. Her AP had, prior to their affair, filled her head that he had proof I was cheating. He told her he had seen me with my office mate parked after work near the bike trails, and he said we were there to do it. What kills me about this excuse was that I had been upfront and told my wife office mate and I were going hiking. We did this a few times. Office mate and I also went to the gym together a few times, and wife knew each time. AP did this for 2 reasons. One was he was actively pursuing wife, and if she thought I was cheating, she would be more inclined to do it for revenge. Secondly, he had sex with office mate, and she shunned him after. Wife and AP worked at this company as well. He intended wife to seek revenge on my office mate over it. Office mate reported to me that the sex was so bad that she regretted it while it was happening. She said his penis was so small she could not feel if it was even inside her. Third, she felt unloved and unwanted. I was going through severe mental health issues for a very long time before her affair. I would say it started in about 2013, and her affair started in 2015. I suffer PTSD, OCD, depression, and an anxiety disorder, all stemming from childhood sexual abuse, all at the hands of my own mother. From age 5 to 15. I also have what I refer to as a touch phobia, and I'm sure there is a more technical term for that, but I think my words describe it well. I was experiencing flashbacks to my mother during sex, and I would carve my skin with a razor after sex to cope with those flashbacks. I was avoiding sex. I would never say no to my wife, but I was also not initiating. At night, I would often choose the floor rather than the bed, so as not to have to feel my wife's body too close or even touching mine. This all weighted on her heavy and made her feel I no longer wanted her. Side note. I kind of understand her third one because I can look back with clear focus on my status of those years. I do not condone her reaction to it. In therapy, my therapist agreed that was a valid way of looking at this. I wish her reaction was to get me help. After D-Day, she was able to understand me better, and she was the one who found me an excellent therapist. My therapist specialized in males who were survivors of childhood sexual assault. Fourth, she just wanted attention. This is very similar to reason 3, but I consider this different. She said that between my overtime and my mental health at home that she craved a man's attention and I wasn't providing enough of it. Fifth and sixth, her AP was the popular guy at work. By the way, he worked half his time in the main office where I was, and only half his time at off-site locations, like where my wife worked. All the women in her department wanted him, flirted with him, fawned over him. And wife was the least liked woman in her department. The other women were younger and borderline bullied my wife. She also had been unpopular in school. AP was a solid 10/10. He was about 6 FT3 or maybe 6 FT4. He worked out. I've seen him with no shirt. He has a six-pack like a magazine cover, and always one of the best-dressed guys in the office. Always well-pressed clothing, etc. Wife said that he served 2 excuses here. First, she said getting to sleep with the guy all the other women wanted was like her personal revenge on them for bullying her, but as she couldn't tell them, it was a secret revenge. This was reason 5. She said it also felt like high school all over again, and she was doing it for the teenage girl she was. It was like the unpopular girl getting to bang the star quarterback. Reason 6, 7th. A few times when we talked about things like fantasies, I told her I wanted a 3-way with another man. She told me I basically gave her permission for another man to be inside her, so it should have been okay what she did. Nope, I described one specific activity which was something together. She turned around and did something without me. Now the rest of her excuses revolved around a specific week. Before I proceed, I'm giving a short synopsis. My sister-in-law lost her husband to a heart attack very unexpectedly. I can't think of his age, but he was not yet 40. He was older than me, but younger than wife. It was early in the AM. Wife started work at 6 am, I started at 7 am. Wife called me during my drive-in, so it must have been about 7:30ish to say he had been rushed by ambulance to the ER. I immediately called my supervisor and said I would be out. He told me to take all the time I needed and keep him updated if we needed anything. I got to the hospital shortly after the ambulance. I was very close when I got the call. Wife arrived shortly after me. Within minutes of our arrival, he was declared dead. The whole family rallied together for the following days, a little over a week. I took a full week off of work. Work sent wife and I a nice pastry and bagel basket, by the way, as did wife. We pulled our son out of school for a week and sister pulled her 2 kids. The other adults in the family also took off of work. We were all bonded together those days. Wife and I, along with brother and his husband, pretty much cared for the kids. Took them on outings and did crafts at my place. Crafts are a forte of mine, by the way, just proud of this. In the afternoon, when the kids were tired, us adults huddled around sister and supported her in making arrangements, finding therapy for the kids, etc. Most of this week, wife and I shared a car with all 3 kids in the back. Keep this in mind. Now the next important point. I strongly suspect the affair was already emotional by this point. It must have been. Wife only considers that the affair started when it was physical, and she can pinpoint the exact day that happened. When she related her timeline on D-Day, I really could not picture this without an emotional component already in place for some amount of time prior. Wife said she was jealous that at the ER once we got the news that I hugged her sister a few seconds too long. Wife said that no one, including me, showed her enough support. She knew sister's hubby longer than sister did and considered him a friend. Her birthday was that week and said we did not throw her a party due to supporting sister. By the way, I had gotten her presents and wished her a happy birthday. Her birthday was not forgotten, it just took a smallish back seat to a tragedy. She said due to all of those 3 things that she in reaction called AP, and the day after her birthday was the first day it was physical. She said it was revenge on both me and her whole family over ignoring her that week. 2 things. 1, as you read above, she and I were driving around in one car with 3 kids. I played that day over many times and cannot picture when and how she dipped out and back that day. 2, for much of the affair sister was helping her hide it. When sister found out how hurt I was, and also found out that wife used that week as part of her excuse, she said never again, and also told wife that if I kicked her out, she would not let her stay with her. She said she was sickened that her misery was used in that way. I'll repeat one point for anyone that glossed over it. I strongly believe it was already an emotional affair prior to that week. If it wasn't emotional already, I don't think she would have been able to get someone that easy that week. I also believe affairs start emotional anyway. But in her case, it's a 100% thing that it had to be. She says otherwise, but for her to have him already on speed dial for a physical thing, it had to be the way I feel it happened. I have no guess as to how far back it had been emotional. I have a suspicion on why it became emotional in the first place, but that's a long story and not for this post. It's a few places in the comment section on my previous post if you dig far enough. As wife can't/won't pinpoint, I can only make my guesses. I'm ending with she had even more excuses that I quite literally cannot remember now. These were the main points. If I remember any more, I will edit this post.